Hey everyone, it's Sally Estlin from Magic Mike Moments. How are you all? So today I'm very, very excited to sit down with Jen Shepherd and have a chat about life and our journeys and, wisdom that we've acquired over the years. So welcome, Jen. Welcome to Magic Mike Moments.
I am so excited to be on Magic Mike Moments with you. The last time we chatted, it was such a delight to hear all about everything that you had going on and share a little bit about resilience and things like that. And I'm just excited to chat with you again.
No, it's just, I just draw in like-minded people. And so our conversations are so enriching and people like it helps validate where they're at in life as well, just through understanding everybody's stories are great. My kids just love sitting down and listening to stories. So before we get into your story, let me just give you a brief little introduction. So Jen is a lifelong California resident and has a never-ending curiosity about the world and the amazing humans that inhabit it. We've already got something in common. So hats you wear so many hats. You're an AVP sales manager as part of the leadership team at Chicago Title Fresno. You're co-founder of the Unstoppable You, which I want to talk about. You're a speaker, a writer, a wife, a mum, a daughter, sister, friend, mentor, accountability partner, that's enormous, and former president of the Professional Women's Resource. So you're also a graduate of UCLA with a bachelor's in history. You've been celebrating 28 years with Chicago Title, which is a company that leads the title and escrow industry and gives you the freedom to spread your wings, push the envelope, and grow every day. You founded the Unstoppable You to empower people to dream, dare, and make an impact. Whoa, that is so awesome. It's so important to keep moving forward in the face of your challenges, and that is so true. So you're also a lifelong learner, snap, me too, passionate about people, community, building great connections, and doing more giving than taking. You're an insatiable reader. Oh, me too. I devour books in too many genres to mention and love to talk about them all. So, wow, Jen, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm already aligning so much with you there.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And just, hearing that, it sounds like a lot. It's always hard when when you reach your 50s and you've done some things to not feel like you're bragging or talking about yourself. But again, just, when you talked about how you love stories and we've got the connection of being voracious readers. And from the time I was really small, my mom would take me and my brother and sister to the library, and we'd leave with a cart full of books. And to me, all the books I read as a little girl were just learning other people's stories.
Yeah.
And a great author, even writing fiction, can bring someone to life in such vivid detail and let you experience life from that viewpoint. And I think that's just one of the things that got me hooked was to dip into all those different stories from all over the world. You
Yeah.
know, you can travel to other continents, Australia, Europe, wherever you want to go when you pick up a book. And that was really the spark that lit a fire through all of my education and into my career.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, look, you're giving me goosebumps because it's bringing back all those beautiful travel moments I had reading books. And as a little kid, the Enid Blyton, I don't know if you got into those, and the Enchanted Forest, imagining you were in there and climbing up trees with the saucepan man and all that sort of stuff. Like books take us on amazing journeys. So talking about journeys, I mean, you've been on an amazing journey. As you said, once we hit our 50s, we've been through so many. Do you want to recount some of the journeys that you've had that have shaped you to who you are? Some of the ups and downs, the challenges, anything that's come along in your journey, or just share part of your journey.
Well, I'd say as a little kid, I was that person that was convincing my brother and sister to be in a fake band and entertain my parents' friends. Every time they came over, we would put on a show, and I was organizing the neighborhood and just trying to get people to do things that were kind of fun and a little scary. And, took that through high school and then going away to college. That was my first time away from home
Yeah.
and ended up with a history major. And of course, 28 years later, I'm not in that major, but just history. I had to read about 26 books a quarter for my classes
Whoa.
and then talk about them with people in small groups. So I was really in heaven, and it's really fascinating that history is just another way at looking at and experiencing our humanity. And I just had an amazing professor who was a wonderful mentor. But I did learn that Los Angeles, while it is a absolute wonderful area, was
Yeah.
not where I needed to have my home. The traffic and all of the things that go along with life in LA just didn't feel like home to me. And so then I traveled up to the Bay Area where I had a lot of family and started working very briefly in retail. As you probably know from your venture, retail can be wild. And I just felt like for me, that didn't end up giving me kind of the life and career balance that I was looking for, even as a young person in my 20s.
Mm.
So ended up getting out of retail and into real estate at that time. So that's close to 30 years ago. And then when I was about to have my first son, my mom bribed me to come back to my hometown, Fresno, California, with free daycare. And so I pulled up stakes and came back home. And it was interesting. I listened to a podcast from Gretchen Rubin called the Happier Podcast.
Hmm.
And just this week, they were talking about, would you describe your life as a book or a tree? And I was thinking immediately, oh, a book. I'm a book person. My life is a book. But
Yeah.
then they explained it that book people, your life is lived in chapters and they can have kind of clear beginnings and endings, and you may move a lot or have a lot of different careers. Or if you're a tree, which now I believe more that I am, you're rooted. And then everything that happens kind of grows
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and branches out
Mm.
from those roots, and they get deeper and stronger. And some of the branches have trauma due to something going on. A branch might get lopped off or something might happen. But I just love that beautiful idea of your life being a tree. And I would say that since I came back to my hometown over 30 years ago and worked primarily with one company for 28 of those years, those are some pretty deep roots. But as I said in my intro, the job that I've had and working with the people that I have has allowed me to spend that time doing other things I love as well, being a part of women's organizations,
Yeah.
volunteering, going off and creating seminars and workshops and sharing them with people inside and outside of my company. And so, and raising kids all along the way.
Yeah.
After my first marriage, I was a single mom for about 9 years
Yeah.
and then met the wonderful man that I'm married to now. And he had 3 kids, and then we had ours. So at one point,
Brady
there
Bunch.
were 5 teenagers and a baby and us. And life was messy and chaotic, but we all learned a lot. And the kids are still good friends today as adults. And so, that was another part of that journey.
Yeah.
And then, we're down to one, and he probably won't be in the nest very much longer. So
Yeah.
just thinking about, what do you do with your life when you lean into that empty time when you're not going to games and going to things like that,
Yeah.
and just continuing to evolve. And so that's the chapter that we're looking at right now. My husband worked in Texas for 2 years, which is
Awesome.
1,500 miles and a 3-hour plane ride away. So
Yeah.
we navigated that, and he just recently came back to California. So lots of different things going on. And that's why I love having the Unstoppable You as an outlet, because I know that as crazy as things can feel for me, that there are so many other people that have experienced the same things or things that are similar enough that they could also use the lift that I've found in different books and podcasts and things like that, and just taking my experience and sharing it on that platform.
Yeah, I love it. I love it how you call it the lift, because it is a lift. It's an energetic shifting up of and getting you above that line into the positive energy of it all. It's I think these days kids are going to have 7 to 8 career changes, so it's about navigating life and being able to find that stability as we're riding this wave of life, because
Right.
it's becoming more and more challenging. But it's just, I also love that deep-rooted analogy with the tree versus the book, because as our kids are having to go through many wild storms, in many ways wilder than what we've gone through in some ways, it's, grounding yourself and anchoring yourself down with these solid roots. And I just love it because, trees can bend, they're flexible in the wind,
Hmm.
and it's only very, very strong storms that uproot them, but generally they're pretty solid. And it's interesting, in some other healing work that I do, we like to equate our life as a book, and we can have a very thin, conservative, nice, follow all the rules, and it's a nice little compact book. Or we can have this massive one of many volumes that's, overflowing, and that's the type of life that I'm choosing, because every chapter is so different and varied from the last one. It's just like, whoa, it is an amazing read. So just out of interest, what area of history did you particularly like? Was it ancient history or history of a particular country? Or
I think it was because of the professor that I ran into as a mentor, but I ended up specializing in early American history. So from the time that the Pilgrims came over and settled Jamestown up until right after the Revolutionary War, and focusing on the women's studies and socioeconomic things that were going on in that era, because those are the voices that I never heard in my K through 12 education. The women who, while their husbands were sailing ships back and forth across the ocean, were, cooking every meal from scratch, sometimes on a dirt floor house with pouring rain around them, and navigating, all of the things of the household and running businesses on the side to make ends meet before their husbands got back. And just how many people, not just the rich, not just the politically powerful,
Mm,
what a huge movement it was to
yeah,
do something as risky and crazy as launch a war for independence.
yeah,
It was just it was a volatile time, and it wasn't, not everybody wanted to do it.
yeah.
So, but somehow it birthed our nation. And as a lifelong resident in the United States, it's such a interesting period to me, because it could have just gone a totally different direction. And we've had in
Mm,
our US history several periods like that. But
mm,
to me, that was the first one that was like, it just required so many different contributors to get to where it was,
mm, mm.
so
And
I loved it. And I actually thought I might go to law school, and that, having to defend my positions and be able to research and do
yeah,
things at that level would be very helpful for me. And my professor actually wanted me to stay and do the PhD program. But at the time, I just felt like, I was the oldest of 3 kids, and I didn't know what to do, as far as stay in school or start
yeah,
earning and being a professional. And
yeah,
I just chose that fork in the road. And
yeah.
whatever fork you choose, you just embrace that choice. I don't feel that it does any good to look back and what
Mm.
if, and oh, I wish it's like, no, this was the path that I chose to walk on, and I've gotten a lot out of that path.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. Never look back. Excuse me. When we all have the forks in the road, and it is a choice, and just empower yourself with, it's learnings out of every choice that we make, right? And so it's interesting. I studied sociology when I was at uni, and it's always this yearning to understand people, societies, cultures. And I think with your uh, endeavors down the history path, particularly with your thirst for reading novels and putting yourself in that situation, I'm sure it would just be so all encompassing, putting yourself back in the shoes of those women, right, going through what they were doing, and all the hardships, and being superheroes really with managing all those different hats and roles in those particular hardship times, right? Whoa.
And I have to imagine where you are in Australia, the first women that were really a part of the fabric of that society because it started as a penal colony.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
so women had to work their way in. And I imagine that there again were so many vibrant stories in that. And that's what I love about history is uncovering those personal stories.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I just totally align with that. Yeah, we've done a few movies over the last few years about those earlier days, and and it was very remote too because we didn't have all the infrastructure. It was horse and cart, and we're a big land, as you know, and yeah, very barren in many ways. So living through that. But this leads into, what do you think is your particular superpower? We were just touched on some of the powers of these women back in those days, but your superpower, why are people drawn to you specifically? And what is the essence of you, your magic?
I think the first one, and I've got a couple, but the first one that jumps to mind is I think people are drawn to me for my curiosity and willing to share the things that I've learned through
Yeah,
that curiosity.
yeah,
I come into every situation asking what I can learn and trying not to have preconceived notions. We all have our biases, and I wouldn't say for a moment that I don't have mine, but I
yeah,
try to approach every situation with an open heart and an open mind, and then get through that situation step by step. And I think people appreciate that I'm willing to listen
yeah,
before I start spouting things. And I think that's one thing I've learned through my journey is
mm,
people appreciate it when you don't try to fix them,
mm,
when you try to meet them where they are and encourage them.
mm,
And that has been a long build to that, because uh, when you're little and when you're young, you think having all the answers is important.
yeah,
But instead, I think that curiosity and discovering the answers that are right for that situation and the people involved, there's no cookie cutters.
yeah,
That there just aren't.
yeah,
And then the second I would say is in my seventh grade yearbook, everyone's writing, "You're so sweet, you're so sweet." But I try to lead with kindness. I try to always, in the back of my mind, have just what is the kindest thing to do? And, not to be selfish and not to let people down, but really just that kindness without pity. It's
yeah,
like just being kind to recognize the humanity in other people, in the
yeah.
people you're working with.
I love that. You're
And I
so
think that's one of the things that connected us in our first chat is just loving humans in all
yeah.
shapes and sizes and walks of life and wanting to come alongside them in different ways.
Yeah, I love it. And around that curiosity and having that open heart and open mind, I have this saying, listen and learn, because when you're talking, you can't learn. So when you're listening to other people and hearing them, because people love to be heard, and not spoken to, but to listen to. So yeah, I love that. And I think you're such an empathetic person, and that, that kindness to humanity, and that just throws just it just emanates through the screen here, your total compassion. So, like, that's awesome. And I meant to just, go back a bit to Unstoppable You. Do you want to talk about Unstoppable You a little bit?
Certainly. So the whole premise of Unstoppable You came from a work project where one of my coworkers and I wanted to do something where the two different parts of our company, the sales people and the escrow people, could really have something where they worked together
Mm,
instead of each being siloed and having their own agendas. And through that, we just came up with some programs that really speak to when you want to be a collaborative person, when you want to have goals and move forward, and thinking about that it's not just a pie in the sky. Oh, I'm going to
mm,
set my goals and do ABC and reach them. Everybody has obstacles that come and try to knock you off course,
yep.
or that make you think, oh, I need to give up. And so the Unstoppable You, and it's unstoppable and then the letter U for university and learning, because if you haven't figured that out, that's one of my things,
More. Yeah.
is just that opportunity to make yourself unstoppable, not in a macho like nobody can take me down way, but in
Yeah.
that human, like, I am going to get knocked down, but I'm going to stand up. I'm going to brush myself off. I
Yep.
can be sad for a little bit. I can regroup, but then just take that next step forward, just move ahead. And so we've got some downloads and some materials and workshops and things like that that have kind of been on the back burner for a few years. We presented them internally, but we have a corporate team that does our training. And so we just sat with it. And just in the last year, I really realized I want to start putting that content back out, offering it out to the business community, the professional community, individuals who could use a lift. So I'm working on developing some of those things into an online course and drafting a book that is basically, you hear the phrase, fake it till you make it all
Yep.
the time. And I never believed in being fake. I want to be authentic. And
Yeah.
so just working on a book about faithing it till you make it and the things that are required to get from start to finish when you're doing something new and scary. And so all of that will run right now. We're just on Facebook and Instagram because I had a website and it wasn't what I wanted. So I
Yeah.
took it down and we'll retool it, possibly start doing some YouTube videos and things like that. And Joey's, who you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
has asked me to maybe do kind of a side thing on all the books that I'm learning from and things like that. So some exciting things on the way for this year, but that's the premise of it. So it's dream, dare, impact, because first you have the dream, you have the vision of what you want to do, but you have to take some risks. You
Mm.
have to dare. You have to step away from what you're doing right now
Yeah.
and step into that thing. And then the impact can be for yourself, can be for the people you're serving, can be a legacy that you're building. And so those three components working together are what makes you unstoppable.
I love it. Faith it till you make it. I just
Yes.
love that. I just absolutely adore that because it's taking it above the line to the positive, right? And I'm with you. Like we should never be fake. Like always just be ourselves. We're always a work in progress and learning as we go. And I think this is more than ever. We started talking about kids and navigating through life at the moment, but particularly through business. And I just think it's the most perfect time to help people navigate their way forward, dream, dare, and impact, having that vision, taking the risks and the impact for themselves and leaving a legacy. Absolutely beautiful. So go you. So Facebook and Instagram, is it called Unstoppable You?
Yes.
Okay, with a U.
Yes.
So
The unstoppable you with the letter U.
yeah, the Unstoppable You. Oh, great. Oh, that's just awesome. I meant to bring that up earlier on. So coming back to your superpower, which is the curiosity and the compassion, but what do you think with your clients, what is the biggest issue facing them at this moment in time?
I just think whether you're 20 or 40 or 70, I think a lot of people right now are just feeling stuck.
Mm,
They're just, um, we have so much coming at us all the time,
all the
so
time.
many choices to make. It can be paralyzing. And so, I feel like that's where the unstoppable you and some of the things that we work on can help with.
Mm,
But just to do something, pick something and not overanalyze that it's the wrong
yes,
thing, or
yes,
that,
yes.
one thing that I've learned in my time is that most things are fixable, you know? And, like today, I had a project and I didn't know how to make a table in Canva that I needed for my project. But
Yep.
a couple of Google inquiries and a little bit of trial and error, and I learned something today, and I could have just said, well, I need to find somebody to show me, or I need to, but
Yep.
I just did it,
Yep.
and I think if we can work with ourselves to be comfortable, just try it.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world if it doesn't work out,
Yeah.
but just try it. And so I think I talk to a lot of people who feel either pulled in too many directions,
Yep.
and not knowing which one to take. People who during COVID, whether it was Zoom school or a crazy work or something, a lot of people got very depleted
Hmm.
during that. And that's different than burnout or just being tired. It's your energy's just at zero. And I'm sure
Yep.
you've experienced that a lot.
Yep.
And we have to fill our tanks.
Yep.
And it's better to fill them together, communicating with people, networking,
Yep.
being social, not just scrolling and watching what other people's lives are shaping up, but really having some conversations with people and getting together with people.
Absolutely. We're social animals. That's how we're born. So we're not supposed to be isolated and on our own. And loneliness was one of the biggest factors during COVID. And, in Melbourne, we were the most locked down city in the world. And it was just like so many people, particularly older people, were isolated. I know my mum suffered big time from that isolation. She was in hospital for like a week, and it was just anxiety from being at home on her own. Anyway, but Dr. Google, getting onto that one, problem solving, right? It's just like I have this saying, there's no such word as can't. Like there's always a solution somewhere. And when you're talking about people being stuck, it's almost like this SOS. They're stuck, there's overwhelm, and they're stressed as well. It all feeds each other. So I really like that you say most things are fixable, because they are. It's like, but it does create, sometimes we get that deer in the headlights sort of scenario of like, oh, you get paralyzed with the fear. And fear is
Right.
the biggest emotions that stops us moving forwards and can really shape us in different ways. When you're talking about fork in the road, the fear actually can be underlying, causing our choices that aren't sometimes the best choices for us. So based on all your worldly knowledge and experience and wisdom, what do you think would be your 3 top tips to help people that are literally stuck?
So I think every experience you have can provide a lesson.
Yep.
And it may not be a lesson you want to learn. I've had some like, oh, didn't want to learn that. But there's a lesson there anyway. And so it's up to you to grow from it and move forward. I also, I'm one of those people, I admire somebody who has that single burning passion and just drives that home and has that purpose.
Yeah.
But that's not me, because it's the curiosity factor. Just I want to lean into this and I want to do this and I want to do that. And I think it's okay to have more than one purpose, sometimes at the same time, sometimes linear,
Yep. Yep.
just that's okay. And to keep reinventing yourself. I
Yes.
love
Yes.
those stories of people who, because retirement at 65, when you're living till 90, it doesn't, you can only go on so many cruises and things like that. I think we like to feel valued. And so I think even older people have to reinvent themselves. And I was just talking with a friend whose daughter is in college, and she's not sure it's the right college for her. And it's got to be okay to step away from that and the expectation of, well, you started that, you've got to finish there. It's okay to try something new,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to reinvent yourself. And I think most importantly, have some fun, and
Yes.
again, it can be so easy to get caught up in all of the shoulds and have tos and
Yeah.
chores and stuff. One of the people I admire the most in that arena, is Catherine Price. She just wrote the book, literally, on the power of fun. But also Laura Vanderkam, who just a super simple tip said, plan one small adventure and one big adventure every week to make your weeks more memorable, and I love that, and the small adventure might just be going and trying a new flavor of ice cream somewhere
Yeah.
that's opened up, and a big adventure might be taking a walk somewhere you've never walked or going on a trip. But I
Oh,
think those are such fun things to do, and you cannot eliminate fun from your life. So those are my top 3.
I just love it. You're giving me goosebumps, because we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. And I do card readings every day, and the theme that's coming up so strongly is people need to have more fun and more playtime. And I really love that idea of every week picking a small and a big adventure. And it's just bringing that variety in, because so many people get stuck on the hamster wheel of just the routine of life, right? Day in, day out. We have lots of responsibilities, but we've got to build in that time for fun. It's super, super important. Because life is about being happy, healthy, and wealthy, right? On all levels. And the happiness is having those moments where you get, I call it an ab ache. You laugh so hard that you're creating a six pack, right? So you walk away.
That is perfect.
Yeah. And we've got to have some fun, because otherwise, what's the point? It's I think reinventing yourself is really important too, because we weren't the same person that we were yesterday. And we're just, we are in the driver's seat of our own lives. And I think you're absolutely right. Every experience, there's a silver lining, there's a learning from it. Sometimes you go, whoo, it could be a perceived negative, but there's always positives to be taken out of it. That whole saying, make lemonade out of lemons, when life gives you lemons and all that sort of stuff. I just love your positivity. It just flows through the whole Zoom here, Jen. It's like awesome. And it's time for people to be empowered and step into their own power and be unstoppable, because life is beautiful, and sometimes we just get caught up in the busyness and forget to just stop and breathe and just realize how grateful we are for what we do have around us and the people that we have around us. We're very, very blessed. And particularly, with your work throughout history and delving back into the days back then, it was a tough gig. Like, we're very blessed in many ways to be living in the world that we're living in right now. I know there's, stuff going on, but at the end of the day, we have choices. And yeah, we'll just see where it takes us, hey? So
Yes, make the best of what your circumstances are,
absolutely.
and it's hard when you come across somebody who's been told they're not enough, or made to
Yeah,
believe that
yeah,
they're not good enough, or have failed in some way, and don't have that core belief that
yeah,
they are enough. And I do feel like there's a lot of people now speaking to that and trying to help with that.
yeah.
But like you talked about kids and things like that, the mental health and the
Mhm.
having the skills to be resilient and keep moving forward. I think the more people that can jump in on that, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just having that toolbox, right, of things that you can
Hmm.
lean into when you're having those moments, but you can't change what you don't know. So I think the first step is awareness, having awareness of when you're spiraling down or when you're not in alignment and flow, very, very important. Now, I have this mantra. I have a couple of them: trust, believe, and allow. But the one that I've had for a few years now is let go, step up, and be more. And that's like letting go of drama, letting go of judgment on myself and from others, and stepping up and just empowering myself more to just be more of me, in alignment and flow, me being authentic me, and just being rather than doing more. So over your lifetime, where do you think what have you really let go of? Where have you really stepped up and just to be more of you today?
I think letting go of worrying so much
Yeah.
about what other people think
Yeah.
has been key, because I've found every time that I try to make everybody happy, nobody's happy, and
Yeah.
especially not me, because
Yeah.
I've spent all those sleepless nights trying to make everybody happy. So
Yeah.
letting go of that, letting go of being perfect,
Oh,
and just
yes.
showing up.
Yes.
Um, at 110%.
Yeah.
Everybody can have um, an up day and a down day. That's one of the other things that I've really tried to train myself on is your day starting out badly doesn't mean that you are going to have a bad day.
That's right. Yeah.
And you can always refocus and put a door between that and the rest of your day.
Yeah.
I've really come to believe, as much as I love positivity, that a negative thought doesn't make you a negative person.
Yeah. I
It's
love that.
whether you hold on to that
Yeah.
and use that and let it eat away at you
Yeah.
that makes you a negative person. So
Yeah.
I do try to embrace all the feelings,
Yeah.
but then figure out how to move forward the most positive way that I can into a better space to protect myself.
Yeah.
Because, in high school, I held a grudge against a guy who made a stupid, thoughtless teenage boy comment for
Yeah.
a year. And it didn't hurt him at all. It
Yeah.
hurt me because I kept dwelling on it and festering about it. And I let it go after a year, but I wasted a year of being mad at this person.
Yeah.
And so trying very hard not to hold on to any anger or resentment. It doesn't mean I need to keep those people as my best friends, but I don't need to let what they did
Yeah.
change me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Forgiveness is everything, because at the end of the day, hurt people hurt people. And so they say things just because of their stuff. And we can never forget. But if we can have that forgiveness, it helps us heal to move on. Because there's another saying that I have: healed people heal people. Right. And
Oh,
so
that's lovely.
I know,
I have not heard that before.
I just made that up last week. Healed people heal people, right? And I just really like that, because I've always known that hurt people, and but that was that
Right.
stuff. But to lift it is that, and that's what we do. We've healed ourselves through forgiveness, or finding the tools or the pathway forward, so that we can heal people, through sharing our wisdom. So, that whole thing of, we are emotional people, as I said, we're social beings, but we're also emotional beings. We're the only, you know, species in the planet that is all based on emotions. And so we have these perceived positive and negative emotions. And if we just allow them to flow through, it's like when you have PMS, it's just some days you just kind of ride off. You don't let that define you, because when we hang on to it, it becomes embedded, it creates drama, then it becomes a limiting belief. And we don't want these emotions to define us. And so, yes, we do have these thoughts, perceived positive or negative, and just allowing them to flow through. Like, we are so in tune and in alignment. I love it, Jen. We're just like, this is what I love about having these podcasts, is that talking with like-minded people and just, learning from your wisdom, from your stories, from your experience, because there's so much gold to be shared. And it just to encourage other people as well, that they go, oh yeah, that's true, I have these thoughts, and like, that's okay. It just helps validate sometimes what we're feeling, of like, it doesn't need to define us at all.
Well,
So
and I appreciate that you're putting together the platform to have all these conversations, because it's a great thing for your listeners to know that they can consistently just learn something and soak up something and
yeah,
and have a new experience, and maybe one week will resonate and one week won't, but
yeah, yeah,
cumulatively there's something for everyone no matter where they are at that point. And I know that putting together a podcast and getting it out and everything, it takes work. So
yeah.
I appreciate that with everything else you have going on, that you've made the space and the time for this. And I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Look, we are both sponges. We're both lifelong learners, and a lot of our listeners are too. And I get lots of feedback of like, oh, that person was so amazing, and I really related or resonated with that. So it's just, if we can empower just one person, it's just like little small steps, and just helping people shift and lift their energy. Like, that's what you were saying. It's the lift. That's what Unstoppable You is all about. It's the lift, lifting people up. So
That's actually my one word mantra for the year is lift, for that reason, and because I am trying to start a weight training program, because I know that it helps to have that strength built up and that weight training makes a difference. So it's fun to see it played
God,
out again for you.
yeah, I don't know if you know, but I'm also a personal trainer. And so recently I had a group of menopausal women go through, and, chicks who lift, so empowering. It's important to be strong on the inside, but also have your body strong, not just for now, but for down the track, preventing illness and, with bone density and all the issues going on. So it's so empowering. I was just training a couple of chicks yesterday, and I just see the confidence in them as well, strong on the inside and strong on the outside. Like, all, I love it that you're doing the weight training stuff
You're
as
making me want to jump on a plane and come to Australia and have you train me. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Chicks who lift, so empowering. It's so empowering. They all got little awards at the end, and it said Chicks Who Lift, the menopause
oh,
chapter.
how fun.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love
Yeah.
that.
And the camaraderie of just this small group of women, I think there was about 8. And it was just, once again, so empowering, and just listening to sharing the stories and supporting each other. And you're getting up in the dark, coming out boxing at 6 in the morning or whatever, and some of them were getting up at 5 and having to drive in the dark and watching out for kangaroos jumping over the road, and all koalas and wombats and all this sort of stuff that you just got to watch out for. And she was like, oh, but I've done it. And so empowered by the end. And this particular lady had never lifted a weight before in her life, and it changed. It was life
Oh,
changing.
that makes my heart so happy to hear.
Yeah. So empower chicks to get out there, chicks who lift, nothing more attractive. So so look, at the end of the day, what are you most passionate about? And what drives you, and what do why you get up out of bed? And it must be linking into this lift.
I think just the gratitude of having that day to embrace it, and that every day is brand new and full of possibility. Even
Yeah.
if you've got a really long to-do list, there's a surprise in there somewhere. And so really that's what gets me out of bed every day. It's like I'll think, oh, I love Monday because, oh, I love Tuesday because, or oh, it's Saturday, and just I think it's just discovering what's waiting out there is what gets me out of bed every
Oh,
day.
I love that you are so positive, because sometimes I get caught up with everything. I go, it's just another day ending, and why? But that's like a negative attitude to it. It's just like, let's discover what this day ending and why can bring us, right? What joy or fun or excitement or opportunity is going to land my way? Because every day it is like, I just say, what do I need to know today? Please show me the way. And that's my question when I do my Bling Angel cards. I just like, woo, what doors are going to open today, or what excitement is going to come my way? And I've got to say, I do laugh every day. I don't always have an ab ache, but I just laugh at myself sometimes. I go, oh my gosh, and
That's a wonderful ability
yeah,
to
don't take
not take yourself too seriously.
yeah. Well, Jen, just as we're winding up, I think we've gone through how to get where to find you. So that's on Facebook and Instagram on the Unstoppable You, with the letter U.
Yeah, and I check my messages on both platforms as long as they're not spammy, and respond as quickly as I can. And I'm always, happy to share my email for a more personal conversation with anybody that reaches out through social. And
Yeah.
I love connecting with you. And if there's anyone from this that wants to connect and reach out, I feel the more the merrier. The more connections and the stronger they are, the better for all of us.
Oh, you're such a beautiful energy, Jen. You really are. So, at the end of the day, what sort of legacy would you like to leave? How would you like to be remembered?
I struggle with that because, it's the last person that remembers you is the end of your legacy. And I think I just want to be remembered as somebody who always brought interesting, useful guidance and energy,
Yeah.
and was there to listen and try not to fix, and just brighten up people's lives,
Yeah.
just that tiny bit,
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
just and give that lift.
Yeah.
So I want to be remembered as someone who lifted others and truly cared about what's going on in our communities and with people as humans.
Yeah, I can feel you're passionate about it. Honestly, the vibe coming through the screen is it's so positive. It is uplifting, and you are a shining light. You really are, Jen. And I just admire who you are and what you do, and just your attitude in life. It's just so, it's so it draws me to it. I'm just resonating with your energy, because it's just, there should be a 100 million gens out there just empowering. Like, you've got a big job to do, babe.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And the same with you. I love everything that you're doing and everything I've learned about you. And I look forward to connecting again.
Yeah, well, you never know. Watch this space. I might be over there visiting Joey. So I'm very grateful to Joey for connecting us
Yes,
up.
if that ever happens, she's only a few hours away from me. So I'd
Really?
love to hop in a
Wow.
car and do a roundup. She should hold a special gathering for all the people she's taken under her wing, and we'll all just get together.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Awesome. Well, Jen Shepard, thank you so much for being a special guest on Magic Mike Moments
Thank
today.
you for having me.
I just absolutely loved our conversation, and you know, there's so much gold and, you know, so much uplifting conversations today. And I think we just need more of that. Surround ourselves with that positivity, that uplifting vibe, because we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. So there, on that, thank you so much, Jen, for joining us. And we look forward to catching up
Thank
with
you.
you down the track. See you later.
Bye-bye.